true.
I wanted to talk about one other hurdle that we got to clear, and it's something that we haven't talked a lot about, but I'm sure you guys had to think about. Now that he's in the WWE, we want to use and leverage all that brand equity he built for himself for the last several years in ECW. But, well, TAZ is owned by Time Warner. So we got to throw an extra Z on there. What do you remember, if anything, about adding the Z to his name as a workaround for this trademark?
It was a bump in the road at best. Didn't make a shit. Adding another Z is not going to affect him whatsoever. I think I remember talking to him a couple of times about that. But so the change was afoot. So if they're going to change my name by adding another Z, what else can I expect? And so he's just he was always, he had a lot of questions. Some people say, well, he's needy. No, he was just insecure. He'd been screwed around so goddamn much that who could he trust? We had to prove to him over time, that's a key part of this statement, over time, that we were going to shoot him straight and he's going to get every opportunity to get over and become the main event star that he has envisioned being forever.
Let's talk about some speculation that was in the torch. It's written here, lots of rumors circulating that Taz will be given the win at Royal Rumble, but the winner this year will not get a WrestleMania title shot. Having the title shot stipulation narrowed the possible Rumble winners to just a name or two each year, eliminating a lot of the drama. Now, we know Taz didn't win the Royal Rumble. We're going to talk about what he did at the Rumble. But what do you think of that? I never really considered that, but I guess it makes sense. I mean, we all know now, hey, the winner is going to go on to WrestleMania. So there's always a limited speculation. We know it's not going to be any of these 30 guys, but it might be one of these 2 or 3, depending on which direction they go. Do you miss the way it used to be where, you know, if you don't have that stipulation, anyone could win it? Or do you think the match needs stakes? Where do you land on that?
Oh, I like the stakes.
Yeah.
I like the stakes. Fighting for something tangible, something that you can sink your teeth into, you know, that you can get behind your guy. And, you know, a lot of people, when it comes to the Royal Rumble, they narrow it down to maybe the final 4. So, you know, that's their best guess. So I think that's probably makes the most sense is how to explain it. But I think everybody should, every match should be for something. If nothing else, the winner's share of the pot, if you will. But every match should be for something. You know, nobody's trying to maintain their amateur status. They want to be paid. They got to be paid. So that's where we're on that deal. But I like fighting for something. And I don't think that Vince is ready to beat Taz in his debut, so to speak. I guess it was his debut.
Let's talk about the Royal Rumble. It's the big debut. We've all been waiting on this. It's one of the more famous debuts. I mean, of all the ways you could debut a guy in Madison Square Garden, where this crowd is an ECW faithful crowd. They know who Taz is. He's been one of their biggest players. You've got 19,231 fans in the building, paying over $1 million gate. This is way back when, in 2000. And here he comes, the 6th largest gate for a pro wrestling event ever in the United States, in the country's most famous wrestling arena. It broke the WrestleMania 10 gate. They sold $157,000 in merch. And Kurt Angle is standing in the ring, undefeated in WWE. An Olympic gold medalist who's never lost in the WWE gets choked out in 3 minutes and 16 seconds. Taz 316 says, I just ended the Olympians' gold medal streak. What a hell of a debut and a hell of a way to debut a guy, Taz, here at Royal Rumble 2000.
Yeah, it was shocking for a lot of people that, first of all, that Kurt lost and how the match was not long, under 5 minutes. But boy, the fans there got everything that they could get out of those dudes. So I was just really impressed with that whole performance. And then some of the guys, you know, in the back, they saw what a pop, number one, and number two, he's dangerous.
Let's talk about that. I'm glad you said that because this was even written in the Torch at the time. I'm sorry, the Observer. Angle took a great backdrop over the top rope and one time landed almost on his head from a suplex. After the suplex on his head, Taz delivered a head and arm suplex and a T-bone suplex before putting on the choke, and the referee stopped the match. The gimmick they're doing is, whether it's a choke or a sleeper, Angle is in his post-match interview saying he didn't know what happened and he still thought he was undefeated. It got 2 stars. And according to the Torch, Shane McMahon was advocating that Taz and Kurt Angle go about 12 minutes. According to Wade, Taz would argue that my debut match should be stronger. It should be shorter. It winds up being 3 minutes and 16 seconds. But
He was right.
Yes.
He was right, Conrad. You know, the shorter, compact, high impact, bam, bam, bam was just, I thought it was spot on.
Jason Powell pointed out when you watch the pay-per-view back, he felt like when the crowd is chanting ECW as Taz is making his way to the ring, that it sounds like you can hear the crowd get quieter. Maybe they didn't want that chant coming through. But you just said it a minute ago. People were saying he was dangerous. As the story goes, there were people who weren't maybe on board with Taz in WWE. Maybe they weren't overwhelmed with his work in ECW or his height. I mean, let's just call it like it is. Whatever criticism you could have of Taz, someone allegedly took issue with some of these suplexes in the Kurt Angle match. Did Kurt Angle have an issue, as best you can recall?
No, not that I recall whatsoever. You know, Kurt's so damn tough, and you know, like I said, he won a gold medal in the Olympics. He was just he was a stud. He still is a stud, and I'm glad that we were able to sign him in the beginning. I remember him coming in and wanting to. He had just tried out for a sportscaster job in Pittsburgh. I think until he found out that it's more challenging to read a teleprompter than one would assume, and you know, there's no money in it at that level. So he was happy to take our offer, and it was a good offer. We didn't lowball him. We didn't want him to come in regretting that. You know, that's the one thing. You got to find a happy medium somewhere. You got to compromise, and that's what we did with a lot of talents. You don't want them to start day one regretting their decision, but you can't make everybody happy. There's not a foolproof number that you can just throw out there. It's got to be based on the talent, based on what they have the ability to do, based on Vince's plans for them, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm always a big fan of Kurt's, but he never complained at all that I can remember. He may have said something to some of the boys. I don't know, because I'm sure they questioned him. You know, how did it feel? Was it safe? Do you feel like you're going to get hurt? Whatever. So he didn't say shit. That's just Kurt, and he helped get another guy over. And I was speculate to you, Conrad, and our audience, is that by the time that show ended, Taz had made an indelible impression.